Why does your surgeon treat your gallbladder like a useless vestigial organ that can be cut out the moment you have a bellyache? He treats it that way because the surgery to remove it, called a cholecystectomy, is the most common and profitable abdominal surgery in the world. They want you to believe that your gallbladder is just a storage bag that you don't really need to survive or be healthy. They want you to accept that living without it has no consequences, even though it ruins your digestion and your ability to absorb vitamins forever. This is a surgical lie designed to rush you into the operating room, instead of teaching you how to clean the filter you already have. Your gallbladder is not useless. It is the essential detergent pump that allows you to digest fat, lubricate your colon, and detoxify your liver. You do not have a bad organ. You have thick bile caused by a diet that has turned your digestive fluids into sticky sludge. The medical industry calls these gallstones, but they are mostly just clumps of cholesterol that have hardened because you lack the solvents to keep them liquid. When they see stones on the ultrasound, they schedule the surgery immediately, telling you that the stones cannot be dissolved. They ignore the basic chemistry that proves cholesterol stones can be softened, crushed, and flushed out naturally using simple food acids. I am going to show you how to dilate the bile ducts, soften the stones, and flush the sludge into the toilet without a single incision. We are going to use a specific sour acid found in apples and a relaxing salt to perform a biological flush of your biliary system. No missing organs, no dumping syndrome where you run to the bathroom after every meal, and no lifetime of malnutrition. To understand the cure, you must understand why the stones form in the first place, a process your doctor never explains. Your liver produces bile, a green-yellow liquid that acts like soap to break down the grease and fat in your diet. This bile is stored in the gallbladder, where it is concentrated and made 10 times stronger, ready to be squirted out when you eat a steak. But when you have high insulin from sugar or high estrogen from birth control, the bile becomes thick and supersaturated with cholesterol. Imagine trying to drink a milkshake through a tiny straw. The liquid is too thick, so it gets stuck and starts to turn into hard rocks. These rocks sit in the gallbladder, irritating the lining and causing the sharp pain under your right rib cage that sends you to the ER. Your surgeon sees the pain and says, "Let's cut it out," which removes the pain but destroys your ability to digest fat permanently. Without a gallbladder, bile drips continuously into your intestines like a leaky faucet, irritating your gut and causing chronic diarrhea. You stop absorbing vitamin A, D, E, and K because you no longer have the concentrated bile needed to extract them from your food. This leads to dry skin, poor vision, weak bones, and a compromised immune system, all because they stole your organ. You do not need an organ removal. You need a bile thinner that restores the liquid flow and melts the stones back into sludge. The most powerful stone softener found in nature is malic acid, which is found in high concentrations in green apples and apple cider vinegar. Malic acid acts as a solvent that specifically targets the bonds holding the cholesterol stones together, turning them from rocks into soft clay. When you consume high amounts of malic acid, the stones become squishy and pliable, making them easy to pass through the tiny bile ducts. But softening the stones is only the first step. You must also open the door to let them out. The door is a tiny valve called the Sphincter of Oddi, which controls the flow of bile from the gallbladder into the small intestine. If this valve is tight or spasming from stress, the stones get trapped, which causes the gallbladder attack. You need to relax this valve using magnesium sulfate, commonly known as Epsom salt, which is the ultimate muscle relaxer. When you drink a solution of Epsom salt, it travels to the bile ducts and forces the smooth muscle tissue to relax and dilate wide open. This creates a superhighway for the stones to travel down without getting stuck or causing pain. Once the stones are soft, malic acid, and the door is open, Epsom salt, you need a trigger to force the gallbladder to squeeze. The trigger is a massive dose of healthy fat, usually in the form of extra virgin olive oil mixed with citrus juice. When you drink this oil mixture on an empty stomach, your body senses the fat and releases a hormone called cholecystokinin, CCK. CCK tells the gallbladder to contract violently to digest the oil, squeezing it like a sponge to wring out every drop of bile, because the stones are soft and the ducts are wide open. This contraction shoots the stones out of the gallbladder and into the gut. The next morning, you will go to the bathroom and see dozens, sometimes hundreds, of green and tan stones floating in the toilet. These are the surgical trophies that your doctor wanted to cut out of you, now harmlessly flushed away for the cost of some groceries. This protocol, often called the liver and gallbladder flush, has been used by natural healers for a century with incredible success. But you must do it correctly, or you risk feeling nauseous. Preparation is the key to a successful flush. For 5 days before the flush, you must drink 1 liter of organic apple juice or take malic acid supplements daily to soften the batch. On the 6th day, you stop eating at noon and drink your Epsom salt water in 2 doses to relax the ducts. Before bed, you drink a mixture of half a cup of olive oil and half a cup of fresh grapefruit or lemon juice. You lie down on your right side immediately to help the oil flow towards the liver and trigger the release. You might feel stones moving, rolling like marbles inside you. But it should not be painful because of the magnesium. The next morning, you take 1 more dose of Epsom salt to flush the colon. And then, the green harvest begins. You will be shocked at the amount of toxic sludge, chaff, and stones that have been clogging your filter for decades. This sludge is filled with old cholesterol, toxins, and heavy metals that your liver trapped but couldn't get rid of. Clearing this debris often eliminates shoulder pain, which is a referred pain from a congested gallbladder. It clears up acne and skin rashes because the liver can finally dump toxins into the gut instead of pushing them out through the skin. It fixes the bloating and indigestion because your bile flow returns to a strong, steady stream that kills bad bacteria. Your doctor will tell you that the stones in the toilet are just soapstones created by the oil and lemon juice mixing in your stomach. This is a debunked lie. Laboratories have analyzed these stones and found them to be composed of cholesterol and bile pigments. Furthermore, people who do the flush and get an ultrasound afterwards often show a completely clear gallbladder. Why would the medical industry fight so hard against a safe, natural flush that saves an organ? Because a patient who keeps their gallbladder is a patient who doesn't pay $20,000 for a surgery. They rely on the standard of care, which says stones equal surgery, no matter what. But there is a condition called post-cholecystectomy syndrome, where patients still have pain even after the organ is gone. This happens because the stones were also in the liver ducts, which the surgery didn't touch. The flush cleans the liver ducts too, solving the problem that surgery often misses entirely. But what if you have already had your gallbladder removed? Is there hope for your digestion? Yes, but you need to replace the missing organ with a supplement called Ox Bile, or TUDCA. Since you no longer have a storage bag, you must take these bile salts with every meal to digest your fat. TUDCA, tauroursodeoxycholic acid, is a water-soluble bile acid that thins the sludge in your liver, preventing new stones from forming in the ducts. If you still have your organ, you should take TUDCA regularly to keep the bile thin and prevent the stones from coming back. You must also fix the diet that caused the thick bile in the first place, cut the sugar and the processed grains. Sugar spikes insulin, and insulin is the primary driver of stone formation. Eat more bitter greens like arugula, dandelion, and artichoke, which stimulate natural bile production. Beetroot is another superfood for the gallbladder. It contains betaine, which thins the bile and protects the liver. You have the power to save your organ and restore your digestion without the knife. The gallbladder is not a spare part. It is a vital component of your metabolic engine. Do not let them take it from you until you have tried to clean it out yourself. The solution is in the apple, the salt, and the oil. Soften the rock, open the gate, and squeeze the trigger. This is the reversal of the surgical mindset, and we do not cut out dirty filters. We flush them.